Would you like to reach our film and TV review podcast audience? Do you have a product or service of interest to film and TV home consumers or followers of the entertainment industry? Have a film or show production to publicize? For affordable price plans for all budgets, get in touch and find out about our introductory advertising options. Reach our audience of film and TV viewers and visit our site contact page at filmandtvreview.com, or you can email us at business@filmandtvreview.com. Reach out today. Welcome to filmandtvreview.com. Catch the latest film, TV and streamed show reviews every week. The views and opinions expressed by the authors and those providing comments are theirs alone. They do not reflect the views, opinions or position of filmandtvreview.com or their respective parent companies or affiliates. Filmandtvreview.com makes no representations as to accuracy, completeness, correctness, suitability, or validity of any information in this program and is for entertainment purposes only. Episodes may contain adult humor and language. For full terms and conditions, see filmandtvreview.com.
Hello there and welcome to the monthly edition of Film and TV Review, where we go through the latest film and TV releases over the last month. I'm joined by our regular hosts, Richard, Alfonso, James and Andrew, and quite a lot of releases. Amongst the titles we'll be discussing Another Simple Favor, The Drop, The Final Destination 25th Anniversary, and the new film Bloodlines. The Penguin Lessons, The Pit, The Surfer, and Until Dawn, and Warfare, including a few other titles. And plenty more. So I think we'll just kick off. I think a prime movie, Another Simple Favor. This is James, you saw this? It's a wedding. It was like a rom-com, but what is it?
Paul Feig, obviously known for things like 3 brilliant comedy films that he did in a row: Bridesmaids, The Heat, Spy, fantastic. He did A Simple Favor back in, I think it's like 2017, which is scary to me because that's like 8 years ago, and it feels like it's like a few years ago. But I think it's based on a book, and it's kind of like a dark comedy, really. It's sort of a mishmash of genres. So the first film, there's 2 housewives played by Anna Kendrick and Blake Lively. Anna Kendrick's character is much more a sort of pent-up character, a lot more, and Blake Lively is kind of a lot more chilled out. And the whole premise of the film is she says, "Can you do me a simple favor? Can you collect my son from school?" to Anna Kendrick. She does that, and then Blake Lively disappears, and we don't know what's happened to Blake Lively for most of the film. Difficult to talk about this one without ruining the end of the first one, but Blake Lively tries to kill Anna Kendrick at the end of the first film. This film starts with a ridiculous premise that Anna Kendrick is now a true crime podcaster, and she's kind of she's written a book about her experiences with Blake Lively, this kind of psycho woman who lives next door. And Blake Lively comes back into her life and says, "I don't want revenge. I just want you to come to my wedding. Would you trust this person?" And there's a couple of jokes where they're like, "We know this is ridiculous. Just go with it." The thing that does make these films, and it's definitely not as good as the first one, which has a sort of not realistic, but there's something about this one where the setup is so ridiculous that I know certain people are really struggling to get on board with it, I think. But the thing that does make it work is Anna Kendrick and Blake Lively's kind of chemistry together. I think that's the big selling point of this. if you're not into outrageous twists, this film is not for you. This film throws you an outrageous twist every 10 minutes. It's not trying to be realistic. And actually, where you said, Richard, about whether about a Netflix film being a bad thing, this is a streaming movie. I think if this was in cinemas, I might have had a bit of a different reaction to it. As a streaming movie on a Sunday morning, I was like, yeah, that was kind of fun. It was like turn your brain off. There's a really, I can't really ruin this. There's a really good effects moment. I'll say in it, which has to be an effects moment. You don't realize you're watching an effects moment, but it's very, very well done. And it's kind of better done than one of the other films I've mentioned today. And I'm deliberately being very vague about what I say there. And I think they'll probably do another one. I think there might be a third book in the offing. It's really silly and camp. But yeah, I think the sort of performances from Anna Kendrick and Blake Lively are the thing that sell it. And there's probably a bit of improvised dialogue, I think, particularly from Anna Kendrick, that kind of works and it's quite funny. But yeah, that's another simple favour, and it's on Prime.
Okay. Next, I think a film, Drop, which I think I saw the trailer for this. Seems kind of like a high concept twist movie where it seems very much two people go on a date and then there seems to be a mystery text which sets off a whole string of events with an ultimatum that seems like a high concept thriller or horror. Intriguing. Alfonso, James, Richard, you all saw this. You can just give us just a quick rundown of what was promised in the trailer and is it worth
Yeah,
watching?
well, you know that I think it's especially on iPhones, you can drop certain files, things just to iPhones who are around you, let's say, within a particular radius. So it's about this woman who, after a traumatic kind of thing in her life, she returns to dating, and on her first time out again in the wild, well, she the date doesn't turn out to be as she expected, not in the least, because she gets into a Hitchcockian thriller all of a sudden, where she has to do. She's like she was the blonde in a Hitchcock film, and she didn't know it. So yeah, the date turns into some kind of mystery plot where she has to do things that she doesn't want to do. There's a lot of at stake, and the list of her problems now is whether the date will be successful. Now she has to save her loved ones and try to unmask whoever in her surroundings is making her do things she doesn't want to do in the least. I liked it. I thought it was fun, a fun thriller.
Richard, you saw this as well? Is it
Yeah.
not too familiar?
I'm guessing that the budget, I didn't check, but I'm guessing the budget wasn't very big. And for what it is, it's a decent movie. I really wanted to know the ending because it becomes quickly a whodunit. Because I don't know if we can say that. Yeah. Like Alfonso was saying, it's like a date, but it is a date actually, of this main character, this woman, and someone is definitely. At first, you think that she is playing a very dark game using her cell phone, and then you realize actually that it's a very, very, very psychological thriller, because it's a real psychological thriller, because that person is definitely a threat, not to say more, and you don't know who this person is. And yeah, the fact actually that it is in a restaurant and 99% of the action is in this restaurant, and you know that someone in this restaurant is messing with her. Yeah, I like actually this part of the movie actually, that you don't know where the threat comes from, and yeah, the last 10 minutes maybe were just very predictable, but yeah, otherwise it was okay. Perhaps another Netflix movie that shouldn't be on movie theater, but at least this one I enjoyed. So yeah.
Right. Okay. James, want to add anything to that? You saw this as well.
Yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of this, but maybe the trailer I was kind of expecting something different. And I thought maybe there was an element to talk about, online trolling or something. It doesn't really do that, but you can't really review a film on what you expected it to be. I just felt that, I mean, that is a good point that it's mostly set in a restaurant. It's quite inventive that they've done that. And I think maybe it would even work maybe better as a stage play. But I just felt the sense of stakes in it. I don't know. I didn't really believe it, and I felt it was a little bit convoluted. I mean, the amateur wasn't brilliant, but where we were kind of joking, like they've killed his wife, and he wants revenge. It's quite simple. Drop seemed to be so convoluted in its plot that I found it difficult to not to follow it, but like to believe that these series of events would happen. And then, don't want to spoil it, but there's a moment where she kind of doesn't follow through on something. And you go, but if you're telling me that this is the threat, wouldn't you follow through on that? You wouldn't just stop doing that. I think the lead performance from it, and Megan Fate, is really, really good. She carries the movie. Brendan Sleener, I think, is the other guy. He's really good in it. So those two are really good. But I've got to say, when you find out who's behind it, I was like, well, I don't really even know who these people are. I've seen them in the last hour, but I can't really give you a reason as to why they're doing that. It just felt a little bit convoluted to me.
Okay. Next, Alfonso, you saw a interesting drama actually. It's Dying for Sex, which is, I think, a story of what
My life, basically.
your life. Well, before you say that, I mean, the premise sounds very, but it's about the reawakening of what, a married couple, or rather the female who's after getting a cancer prognosis, tends to decide to take lost opportunities in a stride and actually explore her sexual adventures that maybe she feels like she's lost out at. And is this a series, or is this a
It's a mini series.
mini series? Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
It's because, well, she's dying. So, but yeah, Michelle Williams gets she gets cancer, and it's not curable, and she knows she's gonna die, and that makes her sort of awaken to a new reality of what she wants. And what she wants is to be more alive, and that is done through new sexual experiences. So she decides, remembering some of her past memories with a guy, that she is bored with her life, with her husband, with the way that the dynamic between them is now. She has a best friend who supports her throughout the series, Jenny Slate, and she has a very good support in this friend. And she decides to, well, I mean, why not give it a go? And she wants to try lots of stuff. So it's kind of a dramedy. It's a lot of comedy because, it's a lot of, let's say, funny situations, and the way that she's trying new things and living her life differently. Everyone's in this series is like it's like one of the series that everyone's nice, let's say, and she just wants to explore different things throughout the series, and it's a nice watch. It's a kind of character that you haven't seen Michelle Williams really do before, I would say, because she does much more comedy than before that I have seen her do in any of her previous films. And it's interesting the way that she acts for this miniseries. It's her own kind of interpretation. I thought it was interesting to watch. And Jenny Slate is very good in this series, I would say. There's also Jay Duplass, Rob Delaney, who is her neighbor, and she gets entangled with doing some kinky stuff. And so she goes through a lot of stuff, different stuff within sex. You also feel like how sex is a way of also feeling and knowing more about oneself. So she is not only about sex, but it's about knowing more about who you are, or what excites you, or things that she didn't know, and that it really the miniseries makes a really good point of sex can be a very good way to get more, not only experiences, but knowledge.
Okay. So it is a story of your life. Okay. Wow. Alfonso, you enjoyed it though. It does sound this is quite
It's a good watch.
enriching
It's a good watch.
It's a good watch. Yeah, okay.
Do you know what I'd do if I had 2 days to live? Rewatch the Infinity Saga.
What?
I don't need to get to know myself more.
Fair enough. Well, Rich, James, next actually brings the next title is fine. You went to see Final Destination, I think 25th anniversary. This is the classic franchise that kicked it off with the cursed passengers of a plane, and the hand of fate tends to try and grab out and kill each one in turn. But so you saw the 25th anniversary and also Final Destination's Bloodlines, which just came out. So
Yeah. So
um,
saw these as a double bill,
mm,
with a little interval last week. I think it's fully released this week in the UK. I'm not sure if it's out in other places. And watching the original, I did see the first one at the cinema 25 years ago. It's such a great setup. It's such an original thing of like these. It starts with these people getting on a plane, and the guy's a bit worried about it, and then the plane crashes, but he wakes up and it's a dream. But is it a premonition? So he gets off, and ends up getting all his mates kicked off the plane as well from this school trip. And as they're arguing in the lounge, the plane does indeed explode. But then the idea is that you can't cheat death, so they're going to die in the order they would have died as the fire ripped through the plane. And you're then you see all these sort of extended sequences of thinking people are gonna slip on water, thinking this is going to happen. So it's very tense, and then eventually the thing happens that is maybe not the thing that you were looking for. So it's really good, the first one. Um, and I did actually think, would I have even gone to see Bloodlines? I haven't seen all the sequels. Um, so I had no expectations for it, and it's a long time to sit and watch 2 films in the cinema anyway. Um, and I watched the new one, and I was really impressed by it. Actually, it's got the most outrageous, ostentatious opening, where it looks like they've spent 80% of the budget on a special effect. So there's this back in the 1940s, I think it is. There's this restaurant in the sky that the structure isn't particularly safe, and you've got this thing of, is it going to collapse and stuff, and it's this really outrageous opening. Um, and then you get into the present day, and there is the granddaughter of the person that we've seen at the start of the movie, who's involved in this possible collapse of this tower, seems to be having flashbacks of this, and you then get into the basic Final Destination-y stuff. But it's very well. It's really well done. It's great to be in the cinema with people reacting to this movie, because in comedy you get the laughs, in horror you get the shock, and there's a kind of weird mix in this one of people kind of recoiling from the screen, a little bit like in some of the gross stuff in John Wick, where people are groaning, like pulled laughter at certain bits, because you kind of know it's coming, but when it does come, it's how you react to it. Um, it's unexpectedly got some touching moments in it as well. And so obviously the actor Tony Todd, who was in the first movie, played Candyman, does make an appearance in this. And there's some. The film is dedicated to his memory, but there's a really nice sort of scene which seems like it's been written as him knowing that it's going to be his last scene, which was really unexpected. But the rest of it really works. And actually, there's a moment later on where two characters get picked off, where actually nobody did that pulled laughter, because I think everybody got really invested in the characters, so they were genuinely shocked when they got bumped off. But it was a really fun movie, and maybe if I'd seen all the others, I would still think, oh, this is just the same thing again. And I've seen a couple of them, but not all of them. But yeah, it really worked. I'm not even sure when the last one was, and I think doing the double bill is a really good idea, because often with fandoms and things, when they try and do a new installment, people say, oh, but it's not like the first one, why can't they make it like the first one? But here, if you've seen the first one 2 hours ago, you can't really complain about that. You're happy about any new things that they do. So I think that's maybe the way forward for cinemas. If they've got any new installment coming out, show the last one, because that would be a good thing. Andrew's just said that the last one was 2011, so it's quite a long time ago, really, for this franchise to have stopped. So I think fans will be pleased to see it back. But yeah, it's definitely fun time at the movies.
It's I think the format of it. I think I've seen a few of the sequels, and it's actually you can almost watch in any order, because it's quite inventive each way these characters get bumped off. Is half of it is the intrigue, how will they meet their fate, but the inventive way they do, and it is actually it's quite fun when you do catch any of those Final
There's
Destination movies on.
there's an odd thing as well. There's the groan, but there's also when
Mm.
really horrific stuff happens. Afterwards, the scene will move on, and you can hear people in the cinema, the audience, trying to suppress their laughter, because it's like a nervous laughter, and it is funny because these are sort of like gross out accidents, and people are kind of trying to suppress it because they don't want to ruin the movie. But it's quite it's a really good one to watch at the cinema, I think, rather than at
Yeah.
home.
But yeah, it's quite kind of leads each scene. There's always a tension, because you can see they've already done a setup, and then you see you just leading up to that point how they will meet their demise, or if they do or don't. But yeah, no. Oh, I'm glad that you enjoyed these latest installments. Okay. Next is a drama. I think. Sorry, baby. Andrew, you saw this. I haven't seen this in UK yet.
Yeah,
But
no, see, because it's kind of a weird one, because it was actually a special advanced screening. So it doesn't actually get released in the US until June 27th. And I don't even know, because it's an A24 movie, so I don't know if it's even going to be released in other countries. I don't know how A24 works with these things.
Oh.
So it was just a screening that I happened to attend. And the person they had in attendance is Ava Victor. And I guess she's a multi-hyphenate, I guess you can call. She's the director, writer, and star of this movie. And I don't know if she has a lot of other credits. Just other credits, but not... yeah, I mean, as I said, it's A24, so I don't know what it's going to be. Any kind of release, even in the US, it might not get much of a wide release outside of the big cities. We'll see come June 27th. But at the same time, it was a good opportunity to see something that wasn't just part of the usual like big blockbuster type films. And as I understand it, it's somewhat based on her personal experiences, but not quite exactly. Anyway, the film, to sum up, is about this woman named Agnes, played by Ava Victor, and it's kind of told in sort of like flashback kind of way. There's like a framing device, and there's also different chapters. So the short of it is that this woman who's a professor starts out with her getting together with her friend, played by Naomi Aki, and they're talking about something, and they're kind of laughing, and the character played by Naomi Aki is pregnant, and they're talking and laughing, and then something happens, and then she has the flashback, and then the movie kind of flashes back to other things of the main characters of Agnes's life, and you find out that something really horrible happened with regards to something of a sexual assault nature. That's in the description. So the way they do it is just kind of like they don't really show anything. So, but you know something really bad has happened, and there's like a one take scene, and it's really intense. So even though they don't necessarily show things, you know something bad has really happened. So it's a really well done film. It's really intense. It's not something you kind of say like, oh, I'm going to see this kind of light film. It's really intense and really serious topic for a lot of women. And the way they go about it is just like, yeah. I mean, I guess I could see like they take a lot of the tropes and cliches and kind of like, yeah, let's not go this way. Let's not do this. And just the attitudes of other male characters or even other characters is sort of like, yeah, let's not do that. But it's something you just really appreciate what they did with it. And there's also a really good scene late in the film with John Carroll Lynch, a different type of character than what you usually associate with him. So, yeah, I really appreciated seeing it. So again, I hope it gets kind of a wider release, not even just international, but even within the US. It got some kind of screenwriting prize at Sundance. So, okay, yeah, I mean, hopefully it gets released in some other countries. So, but that's just a film that I had an opportunity to see, and appreciated again having seen it. So,
okay. Next, the Penguin Lessons, which has a UK release. It was on release in the cinemas. It's Steve Coogan in the lead role, playing the role of a disillusioned teacher who finds himself in a possession of a penguin. So I'm guessing learning life lessons from a penguin. This is going from the trailer, but James, you saw this.
Yeah, and actually,
Enjoyable.
you pretty much described it all, and it is a true story. It sounds
Mm.
absolutely ridiculous, but yeah, he rescues this penguin. He's a teacher in Argentina during the 1970s, and there is a penguin that is washed up on the beach, or some penguins have died in an oil slick, but there is one that is alive. And because he's on a date, he tries to impress this woman, and they take it back to the hotel and clean it up. And then there's a series of events where he's trying to get rid of this penguin where he can't, which actually sounds ridiculous, but rings true. So there's a bit where he's going through customs, and they go, "You've got a penguin, you can't bring that." But then you could understand that customs they don't know what to do with a penguin. So they're like, "Oh, if that's your pet penguin, you take it with you." Um, he is a disillusioned teacher, um, and you find out sort of his family struggles, and things, and he's got a relationship with the cleaners at the school, um, and then one of the cleaners' daughters is abducted under the Argentinian regime, and he kind of stands by and doesn't really know what to do and feels a lot of guilt about that. And then the rest of the film is kind of dealing with that. So it kind of gets into some deeper stuff darker sort of territory than you would imagine it would from the trailer. and there is some real footage at the end of the actual penguin that he did rescue. But yeah, it's kind of him through his relationship with this penguin, but also with the cleaner that he meets, kind of trying to reconnect with himself when he was more of an idealist when he was young, and then how he feeds that into his back to his students. So it's sort of like the Dead Poet Society, but with penguins.
Great. Okay. Right. Next. I think a TV series. Is this The Pit? This is from what I'm gathering, it's a TV series on healthcare professionals from Pittsburgh. Alfonso, you saw this. Is this the series I'm thinking about, or is this something else? Ah, yes. So it's a documentary, or is it an actual just a drama?
No, it's a full-on drama. It's well, if you remember ER, the same, let's say Noah Weil, who was in ER, who was created by John Wells, and John Wells is here as well as showrunner. It's, I think, the people who got the state of Michael Crichton didn't want to give the rights for an update on ER, so they tried to do something different but similar. And this is about a full shift of an ER room, and in this case, in the ER series of the 90s, Noah Weil was the new person on the team, the youngest, or more or less. And here he's the veteran who has been through the COVID times and has some scars, internal scars about that time. And everyone is a little bit, burnt out about that kind of thing. And there are new faces. The episodes go like 24, that kind of series where 1 hour equals 1 hour of the show. And there are a total of 15 episodes, and there are a total of 15 hours during this shift, during one day. Lots of patience, it goes at a breakneck pace. It's really, things are happening all the time. There are many characters. There are a lot of new young people who are it's their first day in that hospital, and they have to get accustomed, used to what is happening everywhere, and there are lots of new challenges for them. So it's quite bingeable. I kind of binged it in a short span of time, even though it was 15 episodes. I really enjoyed it. It has, even though it's a series that could have been made for one of these open channels like ABC, NBC, it is for Max, the platform, and they kind of wanted this kind of series for their slate, and that it should return every year with a similar amount of episodes, and it has gone really well for them. I think it will be nominated for Best Drama at the next Emmys, and Noah Weil is the front runner, maybe with the lead of Succession for the Best Actor Emmy Drama right now in the predictions. It has been a complete success on Twitter. As many people have watched it, have enjoyed it, and I really recommend it as well. It was. Again, all the characters are in the end nice people that go against a very difficult job, that is being a doctor or nurse in the ER during a whole day that it's quite eventful. And yeah, really, if you like this kind of series about doctors who have to save lives regularly and have very complicated cases with human issues mixed in, this is your series.
Yeah. and ER was one of the best shows of the 90s by
Yeah,
far.
this is kind. Yeah, this is.
Honestly,
I
it was
wanna. I
so
wanna
good.
rewatch. I wanna. I didn't get to watch the later seasons. I wanna watch them now more after watching this.
The first few seasons with Noah Weil as the main character was extraordinary. It was a revolution for me when I watched it.
Yeah, it was a really good show. Then it became a little bit too dark when some people were getting like themselves very difficult illnesses and stuff like that. And I think later on it kind of rebounded into a lighter kind of thing. But in the middle, I don't know. I think they were getting people went like the regulars wanted to be out of the show, and they kind of took them out. Some of them in very heavy ways.
And it's funny because I read the interview, just an anecdote. Noah Weil was doing an interview after the pandemic, and he was saying that during the COVID-19 pandemic, he received a lot of messages from nurses and people across the world actually fighting against this thing, saying actually that it's because of ER, but actually they went to medical studies, that actually became a doctor or nurses. Is the show actually what inspired them becoming nurses? So it's funny.
It's funny because now in this series you can see the impact of the pandemic in the hospital, in the people who went through the pandemic, in comparison with the new young people who didn't go through that.
Interesting. Okay, that's quite intriguing slice of where we are with medical dramas. Disappeared for late, but this sounds quite one to focus on. Right, thanks, Alfonso. Next, we have Louis Theroux's back with the series, I guess. The Settlers. I'm guessing this is a profile on those settling on the West Bank, I think, in this series, is it?
Yeah, so I just wanted to touch on this because obviously Louis Theroux is a really well-known documentary maker in the UK. I think he is abroad as well.
Mhm.
And I'm not sure if this is part of a series. It's just one episode that is hour long, and it's a follow-up to a documentary he did in 2011 when he went back about the growing community of religious nationalist Israelis who have settled in the occupied West Bank. It's just a really good documentary. I thought he's very good at getting people to tell the story themselves. So there's a moment in this where a soldier says to him, "You're from the BBC. What are you going to say about this?" And he's saying, "I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to let what people tell me tell the story." And some of the access he gets in this is kind of amazing as well, because I would have thought that he would go and do this documentary and just maybe wouldn't be able to get access or not be able to interact with people the way he needed to interact. But like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you what to think about this documentary. I would just really recommend watching it because I think this is obviously an ongoing situation, and there seems to be very little coverage, in our news. The BBC News has been obsessed with the people who cut down the Sycamore Gap tree in the last week, which seems mindless, but is it really the top story that should be on the news every night compared to what's going on in the West Bank? So, yeah, I would just really recommend this. And as someone who watched No Other Land, which was the documentary that I think won the Oscar, can't remember if that was soundtrack to a coup d'etat. I actually thought this was a better sort of documentary. It's a different sort of premise, but I felt like I learned more from this than I did from that. So Louis Theroux, The Settlers, is on iPlayer in the UK. I'm not sure where it is elsewhere.
Right. Okay. Thanks, James. Next, The Rule of Jenny Penn. Andrew. So this is what it sounds like a little horror genre, or like
psychological horror. Yeah, it actually got somewhat of a cinema release. I think a couple of months ago. I just happened to catch it on Shudder on streaming, so I don't know if it got much of a cinema release generally, and it was just something that came and went, and now it's on streaming. As I said, I think it maybe played in cinemas for like a week, blink and you miss it kind of thing, and I didn't see it in cinemas. I saw it on streaming. But it's a film from New Zealand, and it's with Geoffrey Rush, and he he's a judge, or starts out as a judge at the very, very beginning of the film, but then he has a stroke and he has to go into an assisted living facility. And he keeps thinking that it's just a temporary thing and then he'll be back in his own house. Things don't quite go that way for him. So in his health, his cognitive abilities start to kind of go downhill. So as he's in the assisted living facility, there's this other person there who is played by John Lithgow, and he has a puppet on his hand that he refers to as Jenny Penn, kind of from an old song. And it turns out that this other resident likes to torment the other individuals at this facility, and it's kind of campy at times. But then you find out there's sort of like a dark, sinister thing with this character played by John Lithgow, and he likes to, as I said, torment the other individuals there, including the roommate of Jeffrey Rush's character. His roommate, the protagonist's roommate, used to be an athlete. It's kind of a name athlete, but now is stuck in this facility. So, and yet, in spite of his past, these prominent individuals are now stuck in this facility, and now the antagonist is going around tormenting them, making them do and say bad things. And as I said, it's psychological horror, so it's not just a bad person doing violent things, but doing these things to the elderly residents there, and things like again, I don't want to spoil, but something where you're like, oh yeah, they're doing something really bad, but it's not just in the usual horror trope kind of way. So I thought it was an all right film. It was a little different than maybe the marketing would make it out to be. Like, oh, okay, like there's something supernatural going on, whatever. There really isn't. It's just the protagonist's deteriorating mental state and making them perceive or think of things a certain way. But and then John Lithgow does kind of campy things. Like there's one part where he makes like a musical number. He says that's trying to mess with the people's minds is what's really going on. So and also with the accents a little bit. John Lithgow being American, of course, and I guess he's supposed to be a character from New Zealand. Whether it's an accurate New Zealand accent, I really can't say for sure. But yeah, I thought it was all right. It's a little different type of film than you might expect. Again, it's psychological horror. It's not, you're trying to torment people in other ways, and just, there's some physical torment, but it's also trying to torment them like, you're stuck here with me kind of thing, and not just, the usual, violent stuff you get in horror. So, yeah, I thought it was all right. I mean, but just again, understand that it's not like the usual type of horror where it's like, you beat people up or kind of, I mean, there is some of that, just to be clear, but it's not just that. It's definitely like, and again, just the, not even coming from the antagonist, just the idea that a character who's like, starts out as a judge and in control of their facilities and faculties, and now they're no longer able to. They're stuck there, and how do they deal with that? They're stuck in this facility. They're not like, what am I going to do with the rest of my life type of thing. So yeah, I thought it was all right again, but there's a little weird, a little on the campy side, again, with especially the antagonist and their puppet, and they're doing a take on an accent that they're not familiar with. But yeah, I thought it was all right. That was decent psychological horror. So,
right. Next, well, we can't have a month go by without a Nicolas Cage release. So, The Surfer is his latest offering. James, you saw this. Premise is, I'm guessing he is the surfer of the title.
Yes, and he is a nameless protagonist, so he's never given a name.
Is that an MCU movie?
The Silver Surfer, yeah.
Very, very good joke. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, Nicolas Cage would love to be the Silver Surfer, I think, because he's a big fan. Anyway, we digress. But yeah, the Surfer. I don't really know how to describe this movie. So, when I put it on Letterboxd, I said it's Eden Lake meets Fight Club meets Home and Away meets Sir Digby Chicken Caesar, which is a sketch on the Mitchell and Webb look. It's a really odd film. I think Eden Lake's a good comparison though to start with. So this film, and it looks brilliant. I mean, it's not just the fact they're on a beautiful beach, but it is photographed really well. This movie, and Nicolas Cage is having a lot of fun with this performance. But basically, he takes his grown-up son to a beach in Australia, and they want to go surfing together. And when he gets onto the beach, the locals tell him, "If you don't live here, you don't surf here," and they're very hostile to him. He says, "I did used to live here," and he's just trying to get on and surf, but they keep standing in his way. He calls the police. The locals steal his board. He calls the police, and the police say, "No, they didn't steal your board." And he starts to doubt if is he going crazy or what's happening here? And there is an element of a descent into madness in this film. There is also an element in the film where I started to doubt whether anything that was happening was really happening. Like, is this all in the character's head? It's a really odd film, but it's also very easy to follow and very sort of simple in its structure. Like when you watch it, it does make complete sense. And the scenes of Nicolas Cage just going full Nicolas Cage, there is a scene where he's drinking from a puddle, which threw me out of the film for a section because it's not like he drinks from the puddle and you don't see it. You see him lean down and drink out of a puddle, right? And I'm like, that's not CG. That dude is drinking out of a puddle. And then I'm like, have they built like a I don't think they have. I think he's just method. But it's usually being thrown out of a film is a bad thing. But I was like, I've got a lot of respect for Nicolas Cage because if anyone's drinking out of a puddle, it's Nicolas Cage. It's a completely nuts film. It's not a horror, but it feels extreme. There's a couple of moments in it where I recoiled from the screen, which is going to be a theme when we get to Warfare, right? But there's some moments in it that are kind of just gross, and I don't want to ruin what they are, but they're just a lot, and they're very visceral. But yeah, it's also got a point to it. So it does have maybe like Beau is Afraid, the kind of the Joaquin Phoenix film from a couple of years ago, the Ari Aster film. It's a little bit like that it seems to be about although it's about the relationship with his son, it's arguably about the relationship with his father who has died as well. And so that there is sort of a point to it, as well as just being kind of crazy. But yeah, it's definitely got elements of Eden Lake in it. Definitely got elements of Fight Club in it. It looks like Home and Away because we're on a beach with surfers all the time. And if you don't know what Sir Digby Chicken Caesar is, it goes into that at one moment, but that's maybe the spoiler bit where I started to doubt whether anything was happening. So yeah, The Surfer, really entertaining. Really entertaining.
Nicolas Cage. Fair then. Okay, good. Okay. Next, as we are in the age of another video game adaptation of sorts, Until Dawn. I have played this. difficult one to tackle this. Till Dawn is kind of like more of a film thematic game as like a horror whodunit, that kind of thing. But Till Dawn, you did see this, Andrew. Till Dawn. Is it a successful adaptation, or what you expect? Because it's a tricky one to do, I think. This one.
It's not exactly an adaptation. It's kind of its own, like a standalone story that's kind of set in the continuity of the game is the best way to describe it. And basically what you have is there's a story there that exists independent of the game, I guess, but there's Easter eggs and nods to stuff that's happened in the game. So I don't know. That's kind of the best way I can describe it. Basically, what the plot of the movie is, I mean, not the game, the movie, is that you have this group of protagonists. I mean, there's one main protagonist played by Ella Rubin as the actress, and then her and her friends. The main protagonist, her sister went missing sometime before, and her friends are trying to get her to move on, but she seems convinced that her sister is somehow still alive. I mean, they don't believe that she's not alive, but I guess they want her to move on because it's been such a long time. So they go to kind of where the sister was last seen, and they go to that spot, and weird stuff kind of starts to happen. They go to this visitor center in this park. They wind up there because of serious circumstances, bad weather. So they go to this visitor center in the park, and they see a lot of weird kind of things, and there's this hourglass that gets kind of turned upside down, and stuff happens, and without trying to give away too much, they start to get killed off, but then they wind up alive and then stuck in this time loop. And it's like, okay, how do we get out of this time loop? And then it's just, again, a lot of stuff that nods and alludes to the game. But it's more like this, oh, okay, there's like that picture or that character, or that familiar thing, or, oh, that's that place. And then there's certain creatures that appear. I don't know if I should say, but similar to what's in the game. But again, it's not an exact adaptation of the game. It's more, as I said, its own little story, and it's not really terrible, but it's not really the most memorable thing. And it's just like it's just something where there's a lot of Easter eggs and nods to things from the game, but not necessarily an adaptation of the game kind of way, just sort of like, yeah.
Fine. Yeah. Okay. Right. Lastly, I think a film that's got quite a very good word of mouth, quite honestly, from anyone who's watched it. It's the kind of a war story, a war surveillance mission account between American soldiers in a territory in Iraq, and that's Warfare. I think based on the real experiences of one of the soldiers there. Alfonso and James, you both saw this. Is it as good as they say? You can give me a bit of premise as well, in the location and all that. But yeah, heard very good things about this. So
basically, it's I think it's described as an incident of war, so it sort of takes place in real time. So it's sort of like over 90 minutes, and it's a bombardment in Iraq, and it's directed by Ray Mendoza, who was the military advisor on Alex Garland's Civil War. Alex Garland is also a co-director on this, and apparently it come about because the final sequence in Civil War, Alex Garland was looking at and kind of really impressed by his sort of handling of that scene, and then they've come up with this idea of doing a reenactment of something, and they've spoken to the soldiers who were present and tried to piece together what happened through the memory of that. And it starts with a very incongruous use of music. So it starts with Eric Prydz' "Call on Me," and you see the soldiers all sort of bonding, watching this video as they would have been back in the mid noughties. And then the first half hour of the film is very slow paced. It sort of reminded me of The Hurt Locker, which that film I think really depicts, rather than battle, what occupation is like. That is quite sort of boring, really. Is that like not a lot's happening and you're just there. And then the bombardment hits and it's horrific. Now I know I sort of said I thought this was really like strong stuff, and it feels like it felt to me like I was in the middle of a battlefield watching this. Apparently when Ray Mendoza has heard people say that, he says, "Well, how would you know?" Which is very true. I've not been to war, but I think the skill of the filmmaking here conveys what that must feel like to some extent. There is definitely very, very graphic injury detail in this film. I do wonder, though, actually, in the way that, like in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, there's no blood, but it feels so intense. Maybe if I went and watched this back, it's not as gory as I thought, but it felt like it because people that are hit in this film don't shout and then stop because they want to move the action. They're trying to recreate what it's like. So grown men are screaming for what feels like hours. It doesn't feel like a 90-minute movie. And I don't mean that like, when stuff is not working. I think it feels as intense as they're trying to make you feel it. They're trying to make you feel like what this would be like. And I think I really think it's an exceptional piece of filmmaking. It falls into that category of a movie that I think is a bit of a masterpiece, but I never want to see again. I have seen some people sort of downvoting this and sort of going, "Oh, well, I didn't agree with the Iraq War." Well, I didn't, but it's 20 years ago. Like, this is a historical document. I don't go, "Well, I'm not going to watch 1917 because I don't agree with the First World War." It's a historical document, I think, and it's sort of made with the input of people that were there. And governments go to war, people don't. And I think there is, that I don't. Again, I don't want to sort of ruin it, but there is some stuff in there that is about the pointlessness of war, but a little bit like Adolescence. It's kind of focused on one thing. It's not trying to give you the history of the Iraq War. It's not trying to give you everything that happened and all the reasons for it. It's very much trying to give you 90 minutes that happened to a group of people and what that would have felt like. And I think it does it exceptionally. Richard has just put in the chat that there's no release date in France. I don't want you to watch this, man, because I don't know if I wanted to watch it. But I think it's a very well done movie. It's not going to be for everyone. But I have also seen positive reviews saying this feels more like the kind of war movie that we probably should have more of in a way. Like in Britain, there's a real big appetite for World War One, World War Two movies. Always has been. When Dunkirk come out, not just because it was a Nolan film, there were people coming out to that show in Bill like Minecraft. People coming out that wouldn't go to see other things that will come and see old war movies, but they feel a bit, all the Blitz spirit, and there's a bit of propaganda in there and stuff. I've heard people talk about this as propaganda. This is the worst propaganda for war. Like this is definitely war is hell. And I think it just conveys that really well. So, yeah, a really impressive bit of filmmaking. But God, if you're thinking of taking someone on a date, don't choose this one.
Yes.
Well, I cannot disagree.
Okay, that's fine. Other opinions are available.
First, because I think this war is easy for the fighters, for the American troops, than Vietnam or even or previous or movies about World War II, World War One. I think these guys have a lot of means, more than the Iraqis. It's about them, and the movie is completely focused on the Americans. So things happen to some of them, but you also see how they have all the means in the world to just care about the whole team and just be superior to their opponents vastly. So and also the movie is populated with all the rising stars of that age that you can find right now in Hollywood or on Twitter or anywhere. It's I don't know who cast this film, but they had access to anyone that they wanted of that kind of rising kind of star. And so with that kind of popular people and the war not being, in my view, as hard to do, I mean, yeah, you can be in bad situations and some people get really hurt. But at the same time, you see that they can deploy literally planes over the street. It's like, bring me a plane, and the plane goes, and then there's smoke all over the street. There's dust, like it making everyone confused or just not able to see them properly, because the plane has just gone through the whole a little bit above the roofs. And they can do many things in this film. They are not in a very, I mean, they are in a dire situation because they are being attacked, but at the same time you see that they got each other backs massively from any point that they have resources to do. So yes, war is hell, yes, but if you really like war and you see the rising stars, all the things that they have to do with the war, I don't know, man. I would say it's not so bad. It's more like a little bit more jarhead than 1917 in terms of survival, in my view. I mean, I like the film. I like the film, and I liked it better than, for example, Civil War, that some people liked it a lot, and I thought it was a little bit exploitative, and I didn't like the anyway, I like this better. I thought it was a more realistic story to me.
Right. Well, I think that's our last film of the evening. Okay, well, thanks for that roundup of what from film and TV. See you next time.
We hope you enjoyed this film and TV Review.com episode. Catch the latest film and TV reviews, together with regular episode content from the world of film and TV every week. See you soon. Would you like to reach our film and TV review podcast audience? Do you have a product or service of interest to film and TV home consumers or followers of the entertainment industry? Have a film or show production to publicize? For affordable price plans for all budgets, get in touch and find out about our introductory advertising options. Reach our audience of film and TV viewers and visit our site contact page at filmandtvreview.com, or you can email us at business@filmandtvreview.com. Reach out today.